Okay.
Currently, how many?
Okay. Charlotte, we're all set?
It's a friendly
You got close to pulling a Joe Biden, too.
Okay, we'll get going. It's April 1st, 2019. This is the Board of Selectmen's meeting. We'll have a roll call, starting from my right.
Steve Smith,
Chester Duraki.
Richard Huzzy.
Jim Ralston. Chip Huzzy. Being a quorum, just want to mention the meeting is being recorded. First on the order of business is Ralph Presta.
What I wanted to bring up this evening is, first off, I working on second firefighter. He's getting ready to go through a background check. Hopefully we're going to have him on board by June. Last year we went through this and I failed to, before we did the background check, come in and tell you about that. But we do have a firefighter that's finishing up one of his curriculums to take the job, and so the background check will be probably starting end of April, 1st of May, so it'll be a June 1st hire. Any questions on that? The second thing I got is I'm trying to make some room at the fire station upstairs, and we have a bunch of records that goes back quite a ways, and I just want to give permission to shred it. Hopefully it's going to be under $1,000 and we don't have to go out for bid, but I'm also trying to do it in conjunction with, I do my own business, so hopefully we get a better price on that. So I don't know if the town has any other shredding to do. If they do, we can probably do that all together one time in. The only other thing I got is on the fire station, we put some money aside, and I believe we voted on this money last year. Civil engineering was $37,300, and we got the structural engineering of $17,000. All but $7,000 was encumbered at this point. We need to do something with that this year, and I don't know what we want to do. There was a company hired to do both of these, so I don't know which way we want to go with this at this point. But $7,000 didn't get encumbered, and that was the money for Ritchie Construction. So we
That's the exact amount?
pardon me?
That the exact amount?
7,000, yes. So we're short 7,000 to finish this at this point because we didn't encumber that money, and I don't know how that slipped the crack, but it did.
All right. Back to the shredding of the paper. I'll make a motion. I move to authorize Chief Cresta to hire a company to shred records that have been on file over 7 years.
Second?
I'll second. Rick Huzzy.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All in the affirmative.
We have to vote on,
The 7,000 just got told by the bookkeeper's been paid. I'm not sure where it's come out. We'll have to figure out where that's coming out later.
no, I understand. No, we have to vote on, doing that hire, or that was just a formality, what we
Right.
were doing?
Yeah, no vote.
Okay. So that's going on, and I'll keep you informed on that.
Okay?
Anything else on what we wanna do on this money from the building, or we wanna hold off, or on this, on the civil engineering, or what do we wanna do? They were contracted, to do the job. I know we can't do the structural engineering, I don't believe, but, well, number one, we don't have enough money, because we're $7,000 short. But both of these contracts were handed out last year. We gotta go back through the minutes and figure that out.
Well, there was money encumbered,
Mhm.
so you still say, we still have outstanding bills lists on that, or has everything been paid?
Well,
Yes,
everything that
sir.
I've received has been paid.
So if you got, the stuff that was encumbered, you just gotta okay it to pay.
Okay. Well, we also have one other bill that we didn't get our hands on yet, right? It was missing bill from the engineering. That's part of this.
The engineering bill has been received in the
Okay.
amount of $10,366. Process.
That's coming out of the 37,300, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
If it's out of the encumbered, you're good with that.
okay. Do you want to continue with this and get the engineering done on this point?
I do not. Warrant article failed.
I understand that.
Project doesn't go forward,
No.
in my opinion. That's it. Done.
What additional engineering are you talking about?
Civil engineering for the ground studies and the water drainage and all that, that piece of property.
The money that we're spending this month was approved in the warrant article.
But that was already voted on and the company was already hired.
Yeah,
It may be important to understand that the funds are coming from a warrant article that was approved in 2018 as part of the $75,000 that was approved by a design of the fire station the year prior.
Yeah, right, I understand that.
You still have to go through it. Can't really, stop it.
I think this
No,
is,
just, I can,
It's been voted on, right? So,
okay, the warrant article was voted on, it passed for the monies. The monies were encumbered. I think everyone sitting here eventually knows the fire station's gonna get built. So, it's up to the board.
This was a warrant article in 2017, right?
Yep.
Would you want to just encumber it and leave it? Because like the changing and the engineering and the drainage could all be 100% different in 2 years or 3 years. And now,
You keep it for 1 year.
no, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, you can't, you can only keep it for 1
It's
year.
only 1 year, that's the
yeah,
problem.
it's no good after that.
The money goes bye-bye after 1 year.
We do have all year, and like we get, if we're gonna do something, we need to do it in the next couple of months, so we probably can sit down and do some more figuring if you'd like to, but that's up to you guys, people.
Well, we've got two choices. We can revisit this after thinking on it. Or we can make a decision tonight.
I'm ready to go.
What do you think, Steve?
In my opinion, it's kind of a pointless matter of, the money's already there, it's already been spent, it's already in the budget. So I would say move forward with it.
Finish it up.
Jim?
Yeah,
I believe
we should go with it.
For the record, the consensus, the board wants to go forward with it.
Okay,
Well, we need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go forward with this and finish what was voted on back in, when was it, bro?
It was the warrant article in 2017.
The warrant article in 2017, so.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Once. Okay,
You all set with me?
I'm all set with you.
Good.
Okay, next on the agenda is Recreation Commission.
They didn't need a little bit, John.
Mr. Chairman, we have the Chair of the Recreation Commission, Sharon Hussey, here to speak on appointments. Sharon, you're welcome to come up or talk from there if you want.
I'd like to talk to Eric. I'm comfy. So Erica and I are here, and we have these forms. Dr. Bottrill probably had emergency surgery, so.
We can get them in later. Okay, we have a couple requests for, these reappointments.
Yes,
You got Sharon Huzzy McLaughlin for reappointment and Erica Coombs. Yeah, I'm looking for a motion.
All right, I move that we reappoint Sharon and Erica.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I'll ask Sharon if she'd like to speak to the Maloney Field, proposed
okay.
changes that you'd like to make at the field.
So we've been, and Chester was aware of a lot of discussion about maintenance of the field, and I've had conversations with a particular contractor in the area, and they actually came back to me with an offer. So we were running quickly, and that's why we didn't necessarily go in the correct order. But, so I emailed Chester because we're looking to put in a second multi-purpose field. You guys got a map, correct? So you, in that email, I sent you a map, so you know what the proposed field is. So, the first bid came in from Verasa Construction, and Tim was kind enough to come to talk to the construction part of it. We have since then got a second quote for this work, and was working on a third quote, but we weren't able to get it. Off the record, he commented that he wasn't sure if he could beat Verasa's quote, and it wasn't his area of expertise, so he wasn't certain if he could do that. So that's why we're here today. We're asked to come to explain what we're looking to do. We're spending recreation money. And some of that money has been, it's a large balance right now. I don't know the balance right now, Liz. Do you happen to know offhand? It's roughly 60?
65 to 67, somewhere in there.
Something like that. I wasn't here when the money from, when we started on the Maloney Field. I know some of that money is from donations specific to working on the Maloney Field. So we wanted to take the money from the rec fund and start that additional field. It's gonna be a couple of year process, at least a year, but I don't know if it's gonna be longer because we're gonna move the earth, let it settle, then loam it, seed it, put irrigation in, things of that nature. We weren't going to bring in our own fill. We were gonna take it from the hill that's behind the current multi-purpose field, and that hill that's where the second multi-purpose field is going to be. If you guys are familiar with that. I'm not sure. Anyhow, so that's why we're here. When we got the information that they could fill us in and give us a really great price because it was filling their schedule because they're not ready to go in a lot of projects, I contacted Chester and asked him, what's the process? So basically, he told us that we had to halt, we couldn't go any further, which was fine. And that people in the office here, with a lot of new selectmen and a new town administrator, I'm not surprised that it wasn't immediately clear the process to go forward. We knew that there were parameters that we had to meet. We didn't know what those numbers were, but Matt did send us, he emailed me, and I'll share it with the rest of the rec, the parameters, and we knew that we needed to get quotes, but we just were trying to go fast to try and satisfy that. need. So in addition, I just have a few little bullets. Do you want me to go through this or no? That the rec is looking for or getting some assistance in. Is that okay to go forward with that?
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
The rest of the world.
Okay. Well, again, I know we got to give Matthew some time to get up to speed, so we don't want to hit him with everything, but Karen was our go-to person. So she has the administrative rights to our website. We need to get that back, and I don't know how you're going to do it because it's under her email. So I'll give you guys an email with these bullets. Karen used to post all the check and cash payments to our website. That's not happening, though Liz thankfully is taking pictures or copies of all the checks that are come in. So we can go back and do that, but we need someone to take care of that. It hasn't been done, I don't believe, since she left, or maybe even before she left. And it is now causing a problem. I'm getting emails from people saying, my balance is still showing, I paid it, blah, 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 things of that nature. So we'd like to get that taken care of. The rec would prefer, I didn't know Liz was going to be here, to Liz to do it because we know she has an accounting background. And, and I know she doesn't want to do it. Marge offered, but I think she was just being nice.
I've never done it.
And I know.
I would put it in.
All right, so we also wanted to know if there's any process to use Paul. We need to grab him on a weekend. We didn't know if we had to get permission from you guys. We need to do the locks on the fields and things like that. So the only time I can do it is later at night or on the weekend. I understand there was some chatter, Chester actually told me that there was chatter about giving us an administrative help. I think that would be awesome. We don't need a lot of help, but right now I'm an accountant, it's tax season, I'm really busy. I know you guys are waiting on some minutes. I have them in shorthand. But I would love it if I could scan them and email to someone so they could write them up so you guys have documentation for all that, including perhaps assisting with invoice submission, but I'm not really sure logistically how that would work. You had asked for the listing of the members of the rec. I know who I have listed, but I don't know when their expiration dates are. So if I could get a list of those expiration dates, that would be helpful. And way back in the beginning, there was a question about how many members of the Recreation Commission could there be. And I don't remember what that number was. And then I was questioned, Matthew, you questioned us when are the meetings. We are moving them back to the first Wednesday of the month. And they're in the cafeteria at Greenland School on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is I'd like to have permission to show Liz which reports I would like on a monthly basis from QuickBooks, and have permission to go and chat with her and show her so I can get those emails to me in Excel format, which would be helpful for me and to bring to every meeting. Karen did give us reports. I didn't really like them, but I didn't actually take the time to tell her that those were they weren't particularly helpful to me. So those are a few things I just wanted to mention. Does anyone have any questions?
Is there anyone on your committee that would volunteer to do some of this administrative?
Volunteer? Well, I don't know, I haven't asked. I mean, we all do, the administrative part, we all meet for once a month, you guys know that, but when we're not meeting, we're coaching, we're doing other stuff. I mean, I don't know, I don't think it's I would like to be able to email my minutes in longhand form, because in that way have someone here type it. I don't think it's going to take a long time, but it would help me out a great deal. And that seems to be the biggest bookkeeping headache for Liz, is not getting the minutes, so she can approve invoices when they come in.
And Sharon, so my name's Ken Avery, I'm on the rec committee with Sharon. I just add to that, the reason the rec committee I think works well is because it's program driven. So there's someone that runs t-ball and basketball and baseball and everything else. And so everyone's got their own little silo, and for that season they're in charge of invoicing and figuring out, paying the referees and everything else. I think it would be hard to have someone that goes overarching all of the programs do that administration. That's just not how we're set up. We're
Right.
set up specifically by program.
And when you're in your program, you're busy, because you have your life, your family, your work, and then you've got your program.
And we're, Erica Combs, Breck, just got reapproved, yay. We're also all volunteers, so all the things that we're doing are on top of other jobs in Finley. None of us are getting paid, and which is always a little bit bitter in my craw when I talk with the Stratham Sports Department, but that's a whole other.
Right.
So I know 2 or 3 selectmen meetings ago, someone had brought up, I wonder if it makes sense to have someone in this office that's kind of our liaison. That sounds like that might be a person.
That would be nice, that'd be helpful. They don't have to come to our meetings. I promise I'll make my notes very neat. I have good penmanship, I do.
He's your liaison now.
That's right.
That way he's available, you know when he's working. That's Matt, by the way.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Welcome to the
Congratulations.
That's Erica.
I'm the loud
So
now.
it does make it a little bit easier.
Right.
But is that something I see
But does
again?
that fall in his job?
Right, and I don't want to dump a bunch of stuff on him, because we need the payments to be booked, we need to get back into the website, we need administrative. We can't add anyone to our website, our new members don't have access, because we lost that access, which Karen was really helpful, no doubt. But we need that back, because it's causing issue with us.
Well, like softball season is trying to get started.
Yeah,
And
and-
the person coordinating it can't get in to send
Yeah.
emails or set up teams or coaches or.
Well,
That's,
I would make a suggestion that when you get this stuff back, you get someone who's on your committee that's got access to it. I mean, this is kind of,
Well, we always had access to it, quite frankly, Karen just kind of took it. And we didn't care, because she was taking care of things, and we just call her, but, oh yeah, people might leave. So, you're right, we did have it, but now we don't, and now we do want it back, and we do want to keep it. Maybe we can have 2, and we can share with Matthew.
well, I would suggest that you contact Karen directly and ask her.
I'm sure she'd give it to us as well. I didn't actually have her cell phone number. I don't know if you can give that to me. We're friends on Facebook, but,
That might be the
I'm just-
fastest way to get over.
Yeah.
all right, I'll see what I can do. So I will contact Karen to get the website issue, but we still have a few others.
Right.
Bob, you want to say something?
Yes, I would like to say something. I got a couple items on my mind that I'd like some be cleared up. When I spoke to you, Sharon, last weekend, you had mentioned to me that you're looking for $30,000 to do repairs to Crasco Field.
No,
That's what you told me on the phone.
no, it's Maloney Field.
Let me finish, I'm not done. You said,
Well, I just wanted to correct that.
no, you said Crasco Field, Maloney Field, and Castle Field. The 3 fields, you said you got some things you have to do.
Right,
Okay.
yes,
That's number 1.
but not 30,000 to Crasco, just to clarify.
Okay, well, number 2, I can't understand why you need another all-purpose field when you have 4 fields in this town. It sounds like you've got 1,000 kids in this program, but you don't.
Well, we share the fields with the Greenland School, and there are times in the fall when there's competing schedules for practice time and game schedules, especially at Maloney.
Well,
And
and
Erica's in
honestly,
charge of soccer, so
I
she-
run soccer and Crasco Field is doing so hot these days. It's falling back into its swamp. It's like
That's
1
because
inch.
you don't take care of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I took care
We-
of it.
we don't- Again,
Did
you know,
you
this is
read
why we
that
don't like
bring
to
in-
come to
I
meetings.
most certainly did.
One at a time, number 1. We're not going to insult each other. I'm
Yes,
not going to permit it. If you start, you're going out the door. All right?
That was my questions, please. You got 4 fields in town, and I just don't understand why you need another field, especially in that location. Where are the people gonna park? There's no parking to begin with here, okay? I would think if I was involved, I would be concerned about parking first before put in another field. Just to add to that, I was speaking to Rusty Wilson over in Portsmouth Friday. Town of, the city rather, the city of Portsmouth is building 2 brand new all-purpose fields, okay, with lights, right behind Iafola. They own a big parcel of land there, and they're gonna put two fields there to begin with. The following year, they're gonna build 3 more fields, okay? They're talking 28,000, 29,000 people. That's a big difference from 3,800 people, okay? I can understand that. And that cost for them is gonna be $2.2 million. I can't see how you're gonna build a field out here. For how much? How much you gonna pay for this field? Jeremy, can you answer that?
Oh, I can talk now? So, first of all, what I told them was, was that we had plans to have repairs to Caswell, Crasco, and Maloney Field. The big project is at Maloney Field to put in another all-purpose field, because we do have, problems with different, the Greenland School uses the Maloney Field. We rent the Maloney Field to Portsmouth Youth Football, and the lacrosse uses it in the springtime. We do have, 2 fields that we utilize for soccer, that being the current Maloney Field and Crasco Field, which Crasco Field definitely has some issues. One of the biggest problems we've always had when we went to go do the maintenance was someone's using the field. So we'd like to have another field that we could also kind of put people on, so we can spend more time and work taking care of the fields, repair and maintenance to these fields. Because it's busy, it's going all the time. The only time it's not is certain times in the summer, usually August. But because our camps run in July. So when he says we have 4 fields, we really have 2 that we use specifically for soccer. And this is a multi-purpose field, and we're just gonna flatten it out right now. We don't know if there's gonna be a corner of it dedicated to softball or baseball, or just be for a soccer / lacrosse or football, which is what most those fields are used for that. As far as the parking, we do have a parking issue, and Steve Sargent, who's a former member of the rec, was very kind enough to meet with us and go over some ideas, because he did the original sketchings for the Maloney Field. So he's got, I know he's given some to Barassa. It shows all the elevations, and they're really well and very detailed. He did that all for free. He donated his time for that. And we were talking about the parking problem at Maloney Field, and that's when he did give us an idea. And one of the things we were trying to do is make the right and center field of the softball field another multi-purpose field. He said a couple of things. You can't, because of the area near the well. It's too close to the well. And then he says, so as far as parking is, he wants to flatten that area over there so you can have additional parking in that area as well. But that's down the road, and he was trying to think long-term, saying there's only so much you can do on that road. Do you know which road I mean? The one that runs along the softball field. We're not sure if we can put that fence in or not and make parking there, or make additional parking next to where this new multi-purpose field will be. As far as the Portsmouth turf fields, great for Portsmouth, but I don't know what they're going to charge for Greenland to rent them. They're not going to give them to us to use. Yes.
You had mentioned the football, that you rented out for football. Won't they be going into Portsmouth?
I don't know. Portsmouth does have a shortage of fields, hence why there's this big push. They've always had a shortage of fields. That's why Portsmouth uses football and Seacoast lacrosse. It depends. These are turf fields. They're going to be expensive. It depends if these programs will pay it. I don't know.
The fields in Portsmouth are gonna be artificial. They're not gonna be grass. They're gonna be
That's right, and therefore they're going to be more expensive to rent. I don't know. It's a good question, Jim, but this is what we were looking forward to handle some more athletics. Like I said, the school uses it and the rec uses it. And the rec has become very large. We have a lot of kids. We let kids come from other schools, other towns. The soccer program is amazing, and then the baseball program, which is just starting. The T-ball that Ken runs, kids come from Portsmouth and other towns in Newington, because it's a nice program. So if you talk about 3,800, it's not just serving Greenland.
Right.
And they pay.
Right, and that's, part of that is one, sorry, go ahead. One, that's why there's a surplus of funds in the budget, right? Is because we've been running at a profit for a while, because we service the other towns and have a lot more kids than just the town of Greenland. But I think a question, this gentleman, I'm sorry, Bob, nice to meet you, Bob. But he mentioned something about, so I've been on the rec committee for 8 years, and it's something that I've struggled with all 8 years. Is he said, there's some things that are issues with Crasco Field, and he said because we're not taking care of it. Like, I don't think that's part of our responsibility, right? We run the programs. Like, if you read what within the rules and and how the recreation committee was created and what we all signed up to do. We end up doing a lot of these projects to do improvements and safety and things like that, but that's not what we want to do. We want to run programs for the kids. Like, I think all that is town stuff. Like, I think that's not in our purview of what we should do as a rec committee.
Right.
For the record, I agree with that 100%. You guys should be doing it for the kids, it's your volunteers.
And I'll tell you, we've had parents who have stepped up and who were disgraced by the mound at Crasco Field because it was horrid, and he went and did it himself, all on his own accord. I didn't even know he'd done it, and he did a great job fixing it.
And the implication that we're not maintaining, I'm out there for 8 weeks all fall, lining the fields. A couple years ago, myself and my daughters actually cleaned out the shed there, which we should have probably had hazmat suits. And I know, like, Steve Sargent created actual tools to help keep the softball field going one more season. Ken's out there all the time, like, so I don't love the implication that we're not doing enough to keep our fields and our programs running. It's not really awesome or cool in any way to know my children's playing.
Just so you'll know, okay, I did it for 29 years.
Well, that is awesome. Would you like to continue?
Excuse me, let me finish. I did it for 29 years, I took care of the fields, all 3 fields I took care of.
That's great.
No problem, okay, and I started all the programs that you're doing
That
right
is
now.
wonderful. You are
I
welcome
think
back
it is.
anytime you'd like to help.
No, I can't.
We'd love to have your help.
I gave you 29
But that
years.
doesn't give you the right to criticize what we're doing.
Well, don't stop interrupting everybody, one person at a time. All
Just
right?
asking Sharon why, that's all.
No, you actually said we weren't taking care of the field.
I did.
Specifically.
Yes, Tim? Oh, I'm sorry. He's crazy.
He raises his hand.
I make a motion, we take Bob's name off the field till he dies.
You can give it back, possibly.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, can I say something? For the record, the new field is kind of news to me. Just for the record, I wasn't super aware of this field until I got this information. I am for it, though. You can't build fields fast enough. You can't build houses fast enough around here. I mean, I don't think we get enough for the field rentals. Fields are a premium. So I think it's a good idea if it can go forward, but there's a problem about an old warrant article, the town fulfilling the obligation to acquire additional land for a cemetery, because that Maloney Field was supposed to be a cemetery originally.
Right, but then the town voted that, I believe that was no longer, I had a conversation with Paul Sanderson, because after not knowing exactly the route to go, he at least directed me into where to look for all this information. I do remember that. And Jim, I'm sure remembers that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind. So that action was taken at the 1987 town meeting to vote to purchase the original land, and it was designated specifically for a cemetery in the warrant. In 2004, the town then voted to repurpose the fields for recreation, provided that the town acquire additional cemetery land, which to date the town has not done. So the question remains whether the town should invest or continue to invest in further converting these fields to recreation without first yet having acquired the additional cemetery land, which was contingent on that 2000 vote.
Well, I know that we were presented some information a month or two ago that we're not going to run out of space for at least 10 more years for popping people in. So, but they need a rec field now versus 10 years from now, maybe the.
Right, but are we in negotiations?
Yes.
To purchase cemetery land as we speak?
We have brought it to the board.
We've talked about it as a board, we had a presentation.
I know we did, but we didn't decide to do that.
Right, but it's a reality,
Yeah.
it was something I thought we were all gonna move forward on, the way we left it. It was a private board, I understand that.
We approached
But
you,
I mean, if that's one of the hurdles, it seems like we're approaching that hurdle sooner than later. We're gonna get it all done.
I think there's some other hurdles we gotta look at with the property too.
Which
I know Jim Casey's been up looking it over and,
Yeah, there's a lot, I mean, there's a lot to it, yeah, absolutely.
so.
But I'm saying, if this warrant article
Yeah,
issues.
let me go, Paul, hey, he's
stops
had his
it.
hand up, he's behaved himself.
Yeah, just to let you know, I wanna say it's 5, 6 years ago, there was 10, soil samples done out on that for future use out there, so, Steve was part of that.
Steve Sargent?
Yes, he was, I wanna say it was close to 10 holes, they did soil samples out there. So they should have that in the records already.
Well, there was a time we were supposed to make a big expansion to the Maloney Field anyways. We were trying to get the town to give us money, but so I know that it's not the first time we've talked about this, making this a field or a bigger field or more fields.
Jim, why don't you go on your survey, what you found up there?
My concern is that, as we all know, it was a former gravel pit. And gravel pits have very poor drainage. They're just there to take out the land. And what you have on the TV screen basically shows what the drainage basin is, and that all of that blue area is basically draining right to where they want to put the field. It's right at the bottom of the slope of everything that, that they want to do. The 2010 aerial photo that's available on our GIS actually has a picture of what it looks like when it's flooded. And you can see that it's basically all water in there. Has that land ripened into wetlands?
No.
Is a question mark. Has a wetland scientist been out there and evaluated it for wetlands? I don't know. If you're discussing excavating an area larger than what was shown on that plan, you're already at about 44,000 square feet of impact. If you're going to be taking more land from a different area, you could be approaching 100,000 square feet of impact, which would require additional permitting through the state because of the area that you're no longer have vegetation to support movement of earth. Those are my basic questions. It's not a good idea to place a field where there's a strong potential for flooding,
Right.
and you wouldn't be able to use it anyway.
When was this picture taken?
2010.
What month?
I do not know the exact.
I can tell you,
month.
I live right in front of that, and it is bone dry right now.
It is right now.
They're
Yeah.
all spraying for softball and it's dust.
Just saying.
So I need some clarity on this warrant article. Earlier tonight, it was voted to continue the engineering on the fire station project because it was passed on a warrant article. What's the difference here?
Which one?
I guess, Matt, I'm asking you that. The warrant article to continue the engineering, this board voted to pass and keep going on that. So now we have the same situation. We have a warrant article that says we need to buy cemetery land before that happens. And now it's not a big deal, so I'm just saying, it's not the same, it's the same game, but different rules on this topic, it seems. And I'm for the field, so I mean, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot. But everything else is moot if we have to go by this warrant article. Wetlands and all that stuff is down the road because it's done if you can't do it, so. Before we continue this discussion, I'd like some clarity on that.
Cool. And honestly, if wetlands are an issue, can it become a cemetery anyway? I don't know what the rule
It
is
falls
on
on the
that.
same problem you're having with your.
I think that's moot. I think the way the thing was read is the town decided to put it toward recreation, knowing that you have to, in the future, which probably should be sooner than later, come up with a new cemetery plan, is how I interpreted what he read. Not that it had to be before you could do any more work there, because there's been a lot of work done there since then.
All right. Any discussion?
I could probably hop in and just say, the easiest way to find out if that's wetlands is called DES Solar Pace. Have them take a look. They're the ones that are gonna say no or yes.
Well, I don't think we're there yet, though. Don't we have to get through this other hurdle first with the cemetery plan? And it says a plan, not necessarily a purchase of new land. Read it. I don't know.
It's a good question. That's why I asked it.
If I may, the spirit of that warrant seemed to be that the transfer would occur providing that the town acquired the cemetery land, and that has not occurred, so. Therefore, the way I read the warrant, the field should not be used at all for recreation, though that's not what I'm proposing at this stage, but if you read the warrant to the letter, that's how the warrant reads.
Exactly.
What year was that? You said it was
2004.
That it mean you could use it for rec. Only a certain amount of it then?
No, that's what I mean, they're twisting it. It was
yeah.
decided for the town to use it, we've
Obviously-
used it for 14 years.
I think someone's made a
as rec.
decision since then, right?
Exactly.
You can't go back.
It's already a rec field.
Right. You can't unwreck it.
Actually, that was part of the agreement.
What's part of the agreement?
How it was quoted, it can be used for rec fields up until the town needs the cemetery. If they don't buy us an equal amount of land, it went back to to be used as a cemetery.
Did it say an equal
As
amount
needed.
of
But he
land?
said 10
As
years.
needed,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And so what it was, really, they want to purchase land and that stays as a rec field all along. That was the idea of it. We just have never purchased land. We tried to get some of Wabluski's property, which failed because it's right next to the cemetery. So we are looking at another piece of property and we brought it to the board. So that's where we stand now.
Okay.
Dave Laura?
I wasn't here at that particular time. Did they want to use, did they want to not use it as a cemetery because they had questions about
The
the
land
land?
was sold to us for use of the cemetery.
But did the town decide to not use it as a cemetery because they had questions about the
No, not
nature
at
of the
all.
land?
The rec fields were needed before the cemetery at that time.
Okay, it had nothing to do with the wetness or
No,
dryness
not
of
at
the
all.
land?
Right, it's bone. There is that lower part that gets wet with the melt, snow melt, no doubt.
This field is the first field of the seacoast that gets used. You can't go to Dondero, you can't go to New Franklin,
'Cause
you
it is
can't go
rising.
anywhere. Because it's an old gravel pit, so it does actually have great drainage, not poor drainage.
Okay, this is the
I don't see why we can't do both. Let's buy the cemetery and build the field.
This is the article, just so everyone understands. To see if the town will vote to transfer ownership of the Post Road land owned by the trustees of the trust funds and currently leased to the town for recreational fields to the town upon the designation of the purchase of a new cemetery land by the selectmen and/or trustees. That's basically the reading. It's kind of cut and dry. It's being leased to the rec till we get new property.
All right.
Well, now, excuse me, Marcia McLaughlin, 47 Nantucket Place. As you've read that, there is not anything that says until new land is purchased. That's it. I didn't hear you say that. So we did hear a report last fall or January, I don't remember when it was, that stated when you were doing the land idea for a new cemetery, as was stated, we don't need it for 10 years. So why are we arguing about going ahead with doing the field? I'm sorry, Jester, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not arguing the field, I'm for the field. I'm arguing, let's just do this the right way, make sure we do it
But I don't-
correctly. That's all I'm doing right here.
Okay,
I stated for the record, I didn't know about the field, but I'm for it. You can't build fields fast enough.
Okay,
But I don't wanna do it incorrectly.
yeah, I don't think we.
So that's my,
I
that's
think-
my line of questioning.
I think the rec's next step really is gonna be to get the wetlands people out there. If it's not wetlands, that takes a lot of pressure right off. If it is wetlands and you're gonna try to fill it, you gotta do the permitting.
Can I add something too? Dig safe, has that been done?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it has, okay. You know, I don't know.
It's a good question, Ricky.
That's a good question. So let me ask you a silly question. So if it's not wetlands, you said that,
Yeah.
what happens?
You can fill it in if it's not wetlands, but you best to go to New Hampshire DES and they'll say yay or nay. And I would get a letter from them saying it isn't, and there you go, it covers the town's
Isn't there some, like?
liability on it
Doing
too.
Like,
I know, who's gonna do
who's
that?
doing
I
that?
mean-
Who's doing all that? Like, you,
Well, we can probably have,
Jim can probably make arrangements to meet up with Evan
yeah,
Lewis.
Jim can take care of it.
No, that's why I
Oh,
suggested it.
okay.
I mean, I just rather have it done right.
sure.
And then, you know,
Yeah.
somebody comes back at us and say, we're gonna fine you for 10 grand.
No, that's just the beginning.
No, that hurts.
That's where we need your guidance. Like,
Oh, yeah, we don't want
The
it,
rest of us.
we don't want you to walk in there blindsided and all these people come after you afterwards. It doesn't work that way, you know?
And I think there's also confusion, they're asking, they have $60,000. Who do they have to ask to spend, or don't they have to ask him because they already have it? What's the?
They don't have to ask to spend it, because it's their money to spend.
Okay.
But they have to ask permission from us to do it on our property.
Property, okay. No, I'm just trying
That's
to.
a technicality.
No, I'm just trying to figure.
That's really good.
It's your money, you can spend any way you want, just send it to me.
That makes
Let
sense.
us know.
Yes. So,
Right.
if there's no,
But the other thing is, I want to reiterate, on your original plan, the same thing here. You don't have enough parking for 2 fields, and now you're gonna put on a third.
Well, part of that, as I mentioned, Steve Sargent, the original drawings, they wanted parking by this second field. And we were going to satisfy some of that. This all started because while he talks shit at a level we can't hear him at, this all started because we wanted more parking. And that's when Steve said, put in another field. We got the land right there.
This actually goes high, that's what keeps us wet, and it pushes that in there. Yeah, so the moot point on the Barrett part, it was only a week or two, now I guess Dave McNeil might be able to do or something. 'Cause
Yeah.
what happened is we had 20 guys that we kept all winter, and spring work's not ready yet, and they've cleaned and painted every single vehicle twice. So Gary would have rather put them out there
Caps
and
in
just had
town.
enough to pay them the wages and do it all for a week, but now we start them all today, so.
Right.
That I see is the only big hurdle you got is to find out if they're gonna declare that wetland.
And you're gonna do that for us, correct?
Correct.
And you are?
Jim Murphy is the
Hi, Jim.
building inspector.
Thank you. Excellent.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
So this is effectively tabled till Jim comes back.
Yeah, until they can see if they can do it. If they can do it, then we take it from there.
All right.
sorry. That's different, I think, than what you said 5 minutes ago. Like, is that the last hurdle, or is that the last that's not? So.
That's your first hurdle.
That's a very important hurdle.
No, everyone's in agreement, like,
That's the first thing you gotta get numbed, right
What's the
there.
second thing?
Getting our permission to put it in, really, would be the second hurdle you gotta do, that's all.
We can't do that now? Like, if it's.
We won't give it till we know if we got wetlands there or not.
Because, like I said, we don't want to get fined for something.
No, that's
Wait, but
fine.
No, no,
we
no.
have to report this back.
I'm in agreement, like, if it's wetlands, we can't do it, like, we're not asking you to go against that ruling. I'm saying, like, we're here.
Yeah,
Well, the other thing is, you may get a recommendation where he says, because this is not a high-quality wetlands, if you apply for the permit, we probably would grant it.
Yep.
So he'll give you direction to,
But if we,
He's a fair guy, Evan Lewis is good.
yeah,
But
yes, Jim.
So then the next step would be to get a plan, an overall plan of the total area of excavation, so that we know that we're not going over the limits of yet another permit that might be required.
Talking about the terrain alteration,
Correct.
yeah, you don't wanna do that.
You also have a right-of-way issue with the gate into the
We can't use that.
access of the road. That gate there is permanent as far as I can see. I mean, I was up there today, I walked the property. That gate,
Gate with the 6 locks.
the gate with the 12 locks on it, that is the right-of-way of the gas company, M&N, whatever they are. So yeah, there's an issue there too as well.
Can we go back to that other
We
picture?
just go right through it.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about for parking would involve moving some of that fence anyway for safety purposes.
Yeah.
It's not town-owned.
No, the fence around the softball field, by the softball field, along that road.
They own that. That's a right-of-way, not the town's.
It's always been there.
Right, but you can move the fence towards the field, you just can't move it towards the right of way.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
move it
we're
in.
yeah, we'd have to
talking
give it extra
Right
for
away,
them, yeah.
Right.
about. Right, okay.
Anything else?
Mr. Chair.
One other factor you may want to look at too is what the additional cost will be to complete the project, which is complete loaming and seeding. The quotes you have before you are for the additional site work, but that doesn't include the loam and seed.
Right.
So that could push the project 15 to 25,000 over if you assume an estimate of around 500 cubic yards of loam.
We have been chatting with other contractors, and one of them made a really good point that after we move the earth and create a field, you'd want it to sit there and let it settle before you loam and seed. So I don't know how much time it
And
will.
also, once you have it cleared and laid, you have enough companies in town between
Exactly, we've already
Back
chatted with some.
Chester and Brett and all those other, where you have loan jobs, now all of a sudden it's got, talk with the town.
Exactly, so we have already started that, so we don't have a price, it's a good point, we know it's another expense, but we didn't want to move on that loaming and seeding right away, because we wanted to settle.
Right.
Do you have the funds
So if we're
to,
gonna build a natural, turf field, we should definitely irrigate it.
And that's the other part of it
So we're
too.
gonna have to
Yep, and we would do
tap
that
into
as well.
the water lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's an added-
2-inch line that's right in that.
I'd like to see estimated costs on all that stuff.
Yeah.
With it, you know, on
I
top of,
just want to
on
remind
top of.
the peanut gallery, this is rec money, not town money, that we're looking to spend for this. Eventually we'll
Spend it,
probably
just
spend town
spend it
money,
wisely.
but we
that's all I
want
ask.
to use our money wisely to get this field going.
but I have a question as to when the final bill comes in, do you have enough money in the 65,000 to
I don't
cover?
know.
Well,
Probably not.
maybe you ought to know.
I don't know.
Also, if we, part of the reason the Maloney Complex hasn't gone further since it got named the Maloney Complex and we had this initial idea was because everyone's saying, well, we don't have all the money, we can't even start. But if we can roll it out in stages, which we've got several pieces of drawn up, planned out, sketched out, mapped out, everything else, we're probably not gonna have the lump sum, because quite frankly, we're the rec committee. We don't wanna sit on that much money, we wanna put it back into the kids in the town. So if we wait, we're gonna keep waiting forever.
Right.
So
we
if we
keep
can
getting
start, sorry, go ahead.
You might request the Maloney Foundation, see what they say. They'll make a donation. It's a Maloney field.
Well, once we get going too, we would be working on getting donations from others. And, you know, we've come to the board in the past and asked if we can put up advertising signs. And at the board at the time said no. I don't know why, but,
Actually, they didn't.
I don't think you were there. This was wasn't this a bit ago, Ken?
No, actually, I brought this up last year, 2 years ago.
Was it?
And it was shut down.
Yeah, it was shut down. So,
You were-
I don't know
you were-
why. I
There's only
mean, a
two
lot of
people that
fields
really
put
didn't like
those
it.
signs up.
Well, it didn't go forward.
No, they didn't have any information.
I'm not gonna argue about that. What's up?
Well, we were told that was a kibosh, that they didn't want advertisement going on at the fields. And they never had it at Caswell or
I
any of the
I
other
said
ones.
that, that's what I was told.
I see, I go to all around the area, you know, and there's signs all over. the
I know, that's what we
Greenfield,
were
right.
saying,
Yeah.
exactly why
It's-
we wanted
I have
to.
no idea why those two had such a problem with it, but.
What, the point is, that's
Well, it
something.
was more than
that
two,
we-
because it didn't go forward. But, I mean, if it was.
We're not all.
They go forward because they had nothing to go on.
Because it was built with state money. The state said.
Anyway,
Appreciate the discussion. This was good.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
guys,
thank you for-
appreciate it.
thanks for volunteering.
Helping us
Appreciate
out.
it.
Good.
Thanks for being elected. Are we done?
Yeah, you're done, unless you got something else. All right.
But you guys will get back to me about, working together with the, payment system and all that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, according to my schedule, taxes, I'll see you next Tuesday, and we'll be all set.
Okay, moving along, we got approval of minutes.
Thanks, Liz.
Anybody have any funny errors or additions?
I had one. It was, what the library was going for, it was worded quite instead of quiet. Right. I'm sorry, I just got back from Florida today.
Yeah, go ahead, rub it in.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, I can't find even where the minutes.
It's right here on page 37. Oh, we get 37. It says 37 on the bottom, it definitely is not page 37. Under old business, the Weeks Library, first paragraph, the very bottom line.
Okay.
Is that what you're looking for?
Well, I'm looking for wherever it said quiet instead of quiet. The idea for quiet is that it's supposed to shut people up from trying to do anything more about it. But anyway, it's just a typo. We'll find it and get it corrected, I'm sure.
Move to approve as amended?
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the Coakley update.
That was page 38. Page 38.
Mr. Chair, I attended a Coakley group meeting in Portsmouth last week, and they didn't have a lot to say in the public session, unfortunately, as normal. And however, I did want to bring to your attention that the NHDES is recommending stricter standards for the PFAS chemicals found in drinking water. It would be my recommendation that during this period where they are looking for public input, that the board send DES a letter, which I've drafted here, to recommend that they impose even stricter standards than they're recommending.
I thought that was a good idea. I move to authorize the board chairman to sign the letter to NHDES recommending stricter standards for PFAS chemicals found in drinking water.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Next, we have the Weeks Library, the architect's agreement.
We have a couple items under the Weeks Library. These are just FYIs, no action needed at this point unless you would like to discuss. I have information here. The board hasn't received a copy of the amendment from the Weeks Library trustee meeting on March 13th, which we are waiting for. I've also included here a memo from our building inspector regarding the library and abutting land ownership. And next, under the Weeks Library, the planning board has written a letter to the Board of Selectmen expressing concerns over planning, safety, and public health, what they feel public health concerns of the library expansion. So I have that in the package just for your information.
Yes, Marcia.
Mr. Chairman, Marcia McLaughlin again. Now, I went out of town 2 weeks ago. I was not aware that I needed to provide that to you, that this was posted to the agenda while I was gone.
Okay, no, thank you for that update.
I'll get.
We'll work together and.
But
Please.
Can we explain why the amendment?
Sure, that'd be good.
And I think it'll answer your question. And I'm going to turn it over to Craig McLaughlin, who's the chairman of the building committee, who's dealt more closely with that.
So, in regard to the proposed amendment, LaValle, of course, has done many library projects. And in the agreement that the library trustees executed with LaValle, LaValle assumed a certain number of meetings and a certain amount of work in answer to questions from the planning board and appearing in front of the planning board. And Greenland, over the last 15 months, has far exceeded their prior experience with that, so that they are proposing now additional funds to cover the additional time that they've had to spend beyond what they normally include in an agreement. I will say that the building committee does have an advisor who used to be an administrator of 3 separate architectural firms. And she says that the proposal from LaValle is reasonable, considering the additional effort that they've had to put in. It's unfortunate you don't have a copy in front of you, but LaValle does explain in the introduction several paragraphs why they're proposing the additional funds, the amendment to the agreement.
What's the amount of that?
The amount is $30,000 to cover work to date, and they recommend an additional $10,000 for work to be done in the future. Of course, this depends to a large extent on how much more information the planning board is going to be requesting, and this ties into the letter that you've received from the planning board recommending that the project continue to appear and answer questions. The library has appeared in front of the planning board 10 times to date. And frankly, as the head of the building committee, it's not clear to me when that's going to end. So we've allowed an additional $10,000 to answer follow-up questions.
So I will get this to you.
Okay?
Okay.
And we also, if I may, just received a letter from the chief of police to address parking concerns. And that was included just today.
So I had a letter to the selectmen from the planning board here. So I mean, when it ends, I think is when these questions are answered. I think we've gone through that time and time again, just to be blunt.
Well, if
In my opinion, that's what ends it. I mean, and I think everybody has a fair share of blame in the delay, for the record.
well, all right. So if I may,
Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. With all due respect. So if we're going to talk about the letter that the planning board has sent to the selectmen, where they raise a number of issues, I submit that every one of the items that are mentioned in this letter have already been addressed by the responsible board. Now, the responsible board is the library trustees, not the planning board. For a library project, a municipal building, the library trustees are responsible to make the management decisions. And they've been doing that. They've been kept fully informed all along the way. All of these items have been well thought out. They have an excellent architectural firm and engineer to address them. The fact that the planning board does not have all the details is unfortunate, but frankly, the normal practice in New Hampshire is that a library project might appear in front of the planning board 1, 2, or 3 times, not 10 or 12 or whatever people might have in mind for if this process were to continue. So the important thing is that most of these items are management issues under the authority of the library trustees. The second point I'll make is that it would not be prudent for Greenland to delay construction until all of these items are resolved. Right today, the contingency for the project is about 70% committed. Now, why is that? A additional costs from the architect and the engineer, legal expenses, and escalation. Groundbreaking will be delayed by 6 to 9 months. And everyone is aware that costs are going up. I mean, there was a statement made by Ritchie on the firehouse that had some incredible escalation figures that they mentioned. So unfortunately, 70% of the contingency is committed at this point, or likely to be committed. We won't know the increased cost of the project, of course, until we go out for bids and update the total cost of the project. But our position is it would not be prudent for us to delay until all of these items are explained in full to a planning board which has questionable authority over management decisions for the library.
They have stated repeatedly that they are advisory only to this election.
Exactly.
I would like to address a couple of issues in here. The parking agreement with the school and the agreement with the church on the driveway, those are things that can be worked on without having to wait until construction has occurred. I know, the easements and things like that, the septic system location, those are things that are all in progress. We're not asking you to start the project this week or next month, but not to continue to slow it down, which is what I was told was going to happen the night of the election in 2018. Chester.
But, I mean, I count 9 items on the list now, so we're down from 51, was it before, to 9. So, I mean, this is progress.
Well,
parking's an issue. We're not going to discuss anything we haven't discussed 100 times. Everybody knows this.
right.
So, I mean, advisory or not, I have a lot of respect for the planning board, and I follow a lot of their recommendations. Doesn't mean I follow all of them, but most of them. They're planning board. You said you had a great team. I think we do too, so.
Well, I don't question that. They're good people and they're trying to do their job. I think the confusion is who has the authority to make key decisions on a library project.
Trustees and selectmen, I believe.
The library trustees are given, according to the New Hampshire law, management authority, including deciding where the addition will be and what its design will be.
And the select board has some authority as well. And we are using the planning board as an advisory recommendation board. That's it. So, I mean, seems pretty, I mean, there's 9 questions, 9 answers, and then we can move on. Black and white, I mean, yeah, there's 9 answers, write down 9 answers, and then, would make me happy.
Well,
simple.
I know some of these questions seem to have been covered before and answered before. The planning board didn't like the answer, but they have been answered.
Well, let's see the answers, right or wrong. I mean, let's see the answers. Well, narrow it down and work it out.
I know that the plan for access for fire was to go straight in. I mean, that's the answer.
All right.
I mean, that's it. That's
okay,
the plan.
One.
Well,
I mean, let's work it out. I'm not trying to be difficult at all.
Yes, Richard.
Isn't there something coming up, a work session with the planning board with us? Is there something coming about on that? Or we can talk to the planning board?
I don't think it has anything to do with the library, though. I think it has to do with the CIP.
Yeah.
Okay, well, can we,
My
get together
problem
with
is,
the planning board with this and try to resolve something here, or, you know, this thing is, we're beating a dead horse.
Well, yeah, because some of the arguments just don't make any sense to me. They have nothing to do with life safety, and yet they're claiming it does.
Can I see the letter? Copy of the letter.
So, but I think we're just gonna continue beating a dead horse until this thing's built.
If I may add one more thing. In the Altus letter, which was requested by the planning board, brought up the 53 comments. The paragraph just before listing those 53 items, Altus admits that, quote, we understand there is no obligation for the library to comply with these comments, end quote. They're town regulations. We have great respect for them. We're trying to honor them as best we can, but every month's delay makes it more difficult for us to do so.
Chip.
Yes, Liz.
I have a very simple question. If all of these issues were resolved by a magic wand right now, would construction begin on a piece of property we do not know we or the library owns?
No.
And we're still working on that.
Yeah.
The town attorney has been out.
Just for the record, Peter has been given the go-ahead to quiet title. So we are moving forward with that.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? Good. Next on the agenda is hiring an attorney for the PDA matters.
Mr. Chair, a number of attorneys have had conflicts and cannot represent Greenland for the PDA matters. However, there is one attorney here, Attorney Byron Bedard Randier and Spillman, if I pronounced that correctly, is recommended to represent the town going forward on issues related to the Lonza expansion, should the board desire to continue to pursue anything with the planning board. I will note that that project has already received approval from the Portsmouth Planning Board. However, they won't get their occupancy permit until after the construction. So there's still a chance that Greenland could seek contribution towards necessary improvements on Route 33 under the direction that be an impact, a regional impact.
I would just like to state that Lonza seems to be not very willing to help out Greenland. If they're not allowing a lawyer to represent Greenland because of a past personnel matter, it doesn't seem that they're being very, very helpful. A personnel matter really shouldn't revolve into this. And the other thing this may not be the thing, it's not on the agenda because I didn't get back in time, but we are allowed a PDA member. I think we should ask for volunteers. Put that out there and ask for volunteers. I know there are several people who are interested in serving on that committee.
Saluting everyone, Tim. Okay. I have talked to Mark about this a little bit, and his opinion is we're not going to get anywhere without an attorney.
No,
with PDA.
absolutely not.
Right. So, any further discussion?
I move to retain the services of Attorney Byron Bedard of Randier and Spillman to represent the town in future Lonza matters.
Second.
All right.
All those in favor?
Sure.
Aye. Yes. Okay, old business continued. Snow removal balance.
Mr. Chair, there's been an update to the original balance, which in your packet we stated was $45 $46,000 if you figure snow removal only without the salt. We received a number of invoices today, bringing that unfortunately into the overspent category, where you're now overspent after the invoices paid. You're now over budget on $13,945.40. So the town should start to think about where they want to pull that money from and realize that that's going to continue to be overspent because we're only partway through the year and we still have the rest of the year to go through. Now, ordinarily, at the deliberative session, the town could look at the budget, see where we're at currently, and then adjust the budget accordingly. However, that was not done at deliberative session. So now you find that we are overspent in that line.
One thing we can do is we can freeze all unnecessary spending until we find where this money's gonna come from.
Yeah. Do we have any idea of the salt surplus left over? Yardage, tonnage, anything?
Supposed to snow tomorrow night.
Yeah, right, so it's not gonna change.
It ain't gonna
Use
change
that
it.
salt back.
Put a hold on buying any more until we're no.
I thought salt was in
We got enough.
I haven't looked at it.
We have enough for the next storm, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
We have salt money, there's salt money there.
Yep.
Salt
Okay.
is not anywhere near what snow removal is, I think.
No, I understand
about
that.
A little less than half, if I had to guess.
Yeah, salt is at 45,934,
Yeah, well,
so.
is any of that money available? We pull it out of that, if we have, when's the last,
Well, don't forget, we got this December and.
I understand that, that's what we're talking about. I mean, it's April 1st, it's gonna snow, it might snow tomorrow.
But, I mean, if
You
even
can roll
if it's a
it, I roll the
dusting,
dice on April 1st
Yeah.
on snow and salt, you know, I mean.
April 1st almost over, but we do have enough for one more storm of salt back there.
What's that, any idea, what's that cost? How much salt to go through? I mean, I know it varies, but I think we need to track the salt use a lot better.
There's a formula out there that municipalities use for your miles of road, it'll tell you what you should use for salt.
Right.
It's on the.
Yeah, DES has a program for it.
Yep.
I'm in it.
Can I ask, Matt, how far back did Jones's invoices go that he didn't submit?
If you look at the dates for 4/1, there are three invoices that were turned in today. And I'll let Liz speak to that.
They were all March, early March, the first 2 weeks of March. So he's not behind in his invoicing, he's Jones.
He's Jones.
All right. So we can find the money somewhere.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to if we have to.
There's also the road paving, we may have to look at only doing one road instead of two.
Right, so we agree those ways, excellent.
So only one lane.
Coming into town.
No, don't know. Okay, anybody got any other old business?
We put it right down the middle, we mess it all up for everybody. Is there any time for me?
Anybody got any other old business?
We got enough business.
Paul, do you know if Will's coming back?
Yes.
He is coming back?
Yeah.
You don't have to advertise.
Good.
He contacted me end of last week.
Okay.
He's, just got a couple classes left and then he'll get hold of me.
Good.
I'm gonna open up a can of worms. Parking in front of the library in the parish house. Definitely, head-in parking is not working. Do we want to make that parallel only?
I thought the state mandated that a few years ago.
I thought actually you had the police meet with the state.
Tara's offered to, I believe Tara could write a letter to the district and have that road changed.
Right.
Because it is a state road.
Because it's a state road, that's the way I understand it.
She had a big
But they would
powwow.
listen, they would certainly listen to the police chief's recommendation, and I believe the police chief would follow your recommendation on this matter.
Well, we need a motion, I would
Yeah, there'll have to be a motion.
I would move that we direct the chief of police to contact the state and have that set up for parallel parking only.
I second.
Any other discussion?
I disagree. I think if there's any parking, it should be handicapped or none at all.
Any other? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed? Okay. That's all I have for real old business. Okay, next on the agenda is harassment training.
Thank you. The Greenland Police Department will be holding a course on workplace harassment prevention this Thursday, and what we'd like to do is have the town staff attend. It's a very important topic, and we'd like to ask if we may close the town hall during those hours from 9 to 10:30 on Thursday, April 4th, so that everybody can attend.
I move to approve the town office staff attending the workplace harassment prevention course at the police department on Thursday, April 4th, 2019, and closing the town office from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we will be posting that to let everyone know ahead of time.
Can I be the one that gets harassed?
Selectmen are not invited.
Not invited?
No.
Wow, I don't remember voting at all.
Office is open.
See the harassment starts already.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is letter from Conservation Commission to the residents. I think there's actually another one here. Yeah, there's actually two.
Yeah, what you have are two draft letters here, one to a resident that's encroaching on town property, and the other is just a reminder to residents in the area, advice on that area too, that's under conservation, or at least it's town-owned. I'm not sure if it's under conservation.
It's actually open
just
space.
town-owned.
It's town-owned open space, yeah.
So,
Who drafted these letters?
I think
this was the commission.
I think she did.
Yeah, from the Conservation Commission. And would you like to add anything?
Laura Virgo, Caswell Drive, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. I drafted the first letter and gave it to Karen and asked Karen to please add an appropriate addition to it to address the specific issue of the person, and I gave her the name of the person who has been encroaching on the town open space. So the point of the letter is to do two things, is to remind the people in the area around that open space area where we're building a trail, that the Conservation Commission is working there, that we have some plans for that area, that we'd like to see people involved, that it is a recreational area, but also to remind them that it is not, that it is town-owned land, and that they cannot just encroach and plant things as they would like. So when we're talking about encroachment, we're not talking about sheds or buildings or any sort of infrastructure project. One person had put some flower beds in. Unfortunately, they put some gravel down and put some landscaping fabric down. There is a homeowners association. The homeowners association stepped in and said, this is not your land, you need to remove this. They removed the flower beds but didn't remove the rest. They also planted a bunch of trees. So the housing association, the homeowners association, having done as much as they could, we had mentioned it to that particular homeowner a couple of different times, that really the trees that they planted was not on their land. There are a couple of other homeowners that are encroaching, but just very slightly. This particular homeowner has done much more and has gone much farther. So that's why I wanted to do a separate letter to him that specifically noted his issue with the town. I talked to him a couple of different times, but I think it does need to come from the town, since it's town-owned open space, and not just from the Conservation Commission.
Wouldn't it be appropriate to put in a deadline when he or she is supposed to get this stuff out of there?
I think that would and could be appropriate. Someone else had also suggested that we put in something that says, if not by a deadline, the town will take action to remove the trees. I would like to see him move the trees and bring them onto his own property. I do believe, I don't know if this is going to happen still or not, this person has indicated an interest in donating some money to the town in order to improve, in order to do additional plantings. When he sent an email to me to that effect, I said I will have to bring it to the Conservation Commission, and the selectmen will have to also have a say on this. My understanding is he is interested in having those plantings directly behind his property, not as part of a larger plan, a unified plan of what we're going to do with that property. So that's another reason why I think it's important that the town remind the people, while we are creating a trail, creating an area for the community to enjoy, we still need to remind them there's no dumping, no overnight camping, no motorized vehicles, no plantings. So that's what this letter is trying to do. And yeah, so we could very easily add, if you would like to add a deadline, we can add a deadline.
I guess I have a question for the board is, wouldn't this fall under building inspector code?
It is not under the building inspector because
No, okay.
It's not a physical
Just
building.
clarification, yeah.
Yeah, not a physical building. A suggested date might be, by this fall, that it's removed by this fall. That gives him a complete time to choose, to talk with a landscaper, to choose the best time to pull up those trees. We're not trying to get him to kill the trees. We don't want him to lose his money. We want to make it as easy as possible, which is why I really haven't brought this before the board before. So I would suggest a generous time frame.
Well, I guess I disagree, but that's your bailiwick, not mine. But you mentioned that there were a couple other people that had slightly thing. I think you have to do it for everybody that's over and let them know. That's just my opinion.
The building inspector and I did go and identify where the property lines were. In one case, it's literally, they have it's a flower bed, and the flower bed is really right on the line. In the other case, they have a very awkward property line. It's not a straight 90 degrees, go left 90 degrees, go left 90 degrees. It's a more like a polyangle type of thing. And so they in fact have a border that goes way up and then goes way down. And they planted what would be a normal border, and they are considerably over. And
they're gonna have to move it back too. We can't punish one and not everybody. That's the one thing we can't do.
That's what property lines are for.
I can come and talk with Matthew, and I can give him the address of the second, so that we would have a third letter that would also be an individual letter to that particular, or those two particular families to mention to them.
And to be honest with you, I give them the June 1st, because the best planting season, to move trees, the best time to do that's the spring. Once you get in the summer, they really have to keep alive.
Yeah, you can wait until they go dormant and then.
Well, the end of
June 1st, to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better they're out of there. They've already been told that they're not supposed to be there. That's my opinion.
I agree. I did tell the two properties that were only minor infractions that, again, because they're plantings. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I would like to make one more point. We are managing this open space as a habitat area, as a pollinator, bird, open meadow space. People tend to be concerned about ticks and mice. Several people asked me, can we mow just beyond so that we can kind of keep the grass down for ticks? And I said, mowing is a short-term thing. It's not a long-term thing. Yes, I don't see any reason why you can't mow to create a one-line distinction between your property and town property. That's not a problem. I don't want people to feel like they have to put up fences. We want this to be a...
Trying my best!
We want this to be a cooperative sort of thing. We started this after they had moved in, after in many cases they've done this planting. I honestly feel that we have one person who has been spoken to, who has egregiously gone way beyond, not just mistakenly identified where the border, but has gone way beyond. If it's a difference between here and the door to the outside, he's planted his trees where the door to the outside is. He isn't a matter of feet. That's why I'm really not that concerned.
Well, I've seen Pete get to be awful ugly fights with people.
Yeah.
Once you allow them to plant in it, they think it's theirs and they'll try to take it. So I'm really not in favor of anything being across the line. I'm not even in favor of the mowing, because when you get the mowing, you get the dusting for ticks. And how far do they go? Get off my lawn.
You can blame the selectmen, we can be the bad guys on this.
But I think they're across the line, and we know that. We have to let them know, and they gotta pull it back.
I'll come talk to you.
But you're just gonna stay away.
Yeah.
I have one request on the draft letter. The first letter isn't signed by anybody. The second letter is signed by Greenland Board of Selectmen. I would just ask in the future, if it's a draft, just don't put that on there until it's approved, just in case it got sent out by accident and there was something that I didn't want my name on. That's just a small request. Thank you. I mean,
That's him.
I believe the selectmen are required by law to once a year walk the town's boundary.
Yes.
And it might be something where you don't have to do the whole boundary in one day, but you might want to pick these certain areas, let these people know that the selectmen are going this day and this is what we have found or something like
Yeah,
that.
but that's not a town boundary.
No.
You have the ruling of the.
It has to be there.
thing is around the outside.
Okay.
And I think they actually did away with that, the law, we had to.
good try.
Try
Mr. Chair, I believe we could accomplish these goals in one letter rather than two or three, just by slightly changing the wording of the last letter that she has directed to the resident. So if you'd like, the wording change I would make is in the paragraph, second from the bottom, that's underlined. The town could write, please be reminded that anyone who has placed trees, landscaping, fabric, or other materials must remove such items no later than pick a date. And I think that could be sent out to everyone in that area without distinction, so that nobody feels targeted.
I agree, and then if there's no compliance, then we can go individually.
Yes.
Damn, I knew you guys hired him for something. That's good.
June 1st?
Yes.
It's April 1st, right?
Yeah, that gives them 2 months.
Yeah, June 1st. Can I have a motion?
Could we make it June 30th? Can we just make it to the end of the month? April, May, June. There's no harm in that. People, it takes a while to get contractors. Can you get the contractors? Spring is a busy time. Can you get contractors in at least till the end?
Ain't gonna be a business all month.
Why are we bringing contractors in? They just have
They've
to
gotta
pull
move
up the
trees.
fabric and
There's 7 trees that are probably at least, they're evergreen trees. They're
Pretty
substantial.
tall. My question was, did a contractor install these or did he? If he installed them, he should be able to replace them himself.
Well, when they're gonna come out,
It doesn't hurt to
right,
make them
I'm at June
June
1st.
30th. It doesn't-
All right, motion.
June 1st. I'll make a motion to send one letter requesting all plantings over the boundaries be removed by June 1st.
How about June 15th? We'll cut it
June
right
1st, is my motion.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second, Chip.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next thing we have is the, what do we have? Joint meeting for the planning board to discuss the CIP.
Yeah, so we have a proposed date of May 2nd, 7 o'clock in the conference room, if the board would so like to meet.
I'm available, so I'll be there.
My personal opinion is this, real simple. If a department doesn't participate, the budget is frozen at last year's level. That don't wake them up, nothing's not gonna.
Indefinitely?
No.
Irreversible?
He'll get
That's
that,
it?
he'll get that 10% bump up that's voted in the SB2 anyway, so it doesn't hurt him.
I think basically what they're looking for is some guidance on doing it from start to finish. There hasn't been a CIP update for however many years now.
2 years.
And
Actually, last year it kind of fell apart, so.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was before that, that was actually,
Had a lot of things coming up.
so.
But yeah, it's one of the things that the department heads were having problems with is they would submit a CIP and never make it to the selectmen. I've been assured by a new town administrator that's gonna happen, for them to kill.
Right.
I'll move to meet with the planning board on Thursday, May 2nd, 2019, to discuss and review the policy procedure for the capital improvement plan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
And we got here the Historical Society application.
Thank you. I was contacted recently by the Secretary of State. They have received application for a trade name, Greenland Historical Society of Greenland, New Hampshire, and why the town was contacted is because it does have the town's name in it, and the implication may be that it's a town board or town-owned entity, and the Secretary of State's office wanted to know if the board had any concerns with this name or recommendations thereon.
Well, I happen to be a member of it, and I think that they have no aspirations to do any dirty deeds with the town's name. So I would move to approve the formation of the New Greenland Historical Society.
I'll second, I'm also a member. For the record.
They're both real old.
I was good though.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. The next thing is the mailbox damage policy. I know we had a complaint, but to be honest with you, I'm not entertaining any thoughts of handling each one individually with this board.
No.
I wanted to go, if there's a problem with the policy, we gotta fix
Yeah,
that.
that's why I wanted to go on the agenda.
Yep.
Can I just say one thing before we get too in depth?
I got an email about it, I went and took a picture of it, I went to the post office, got the official federal guideline measurements, went and measured it, it's beneath, it's too low. Regardless of who installed it, when, why, whatever, it's too low, so for that matter, I see no liability whatsoever. I mean, I'm fine with the federal guidelines. If we need to go over and above that, then we do, I mean.
No, I think.
If it's at the right height, it shouldn't get hit, and if it doesn't, then you have a case, is it malicious or not? But, I mean, yeah, I think as a board, we need to, this is it, this is the way it is. When I lived on Bayside, every time it snowed, my mailbox was gone.
I replace mine every year.
Yeah, you know, it happens.
But, if I may, just to clarify for residents, shall we include on our website the language that's in the contract where it states the contractor shall perform all services with good workmanship and is solely responsible for damages directly caused by work performed, damages to mailbox, residential lawns, irrigation systems, etc., shall be repaired to the satisfaction of the property owner, time being of the essence, if the damage is determined to be intentional or caused by negligence on the part of the contractor. Or do you feel that the guidelines themselves are sufficient?
I think the guidelines are sufficient, in my opinion. Anybody got any discussion?
Well, I don't think it does any harm to put it right out there that what the contract is available.
Actually, both would be a good idea to put out.
As a former postmaster, this was a big headache.
And we do, on the Greenland website, me and Charlotte, we have how it's supposed to be done, heights, distance off the road, everything is right on the town website too.
Right, so, I mean, there it is. But I was contacted by email by the resident, so I said it would go on the agenda, and here it is, so.
All right.
And he was invited to come.
We have a woman from Molten Ave, correct? Number 9?
Yep.
The reason why she came in today, talked to me and Charlotte, her issue was, and I feel really bad for her, this was done in January, and we just were made aware of it last Thursday. Matt spoke to me about it on Thursday. Karen never told anybody. And it got lost, and she's been waiting, hasn't heard anything back. When I get a message from a resident, they call me or in here, I notify Mr. Jones, he goes out and looks at it, every single one that day.
I called him right up.
Yeah.
You were out.
Yeah.
So I called him, he's like, I'm driving by right now, I'll check it out.
Right, and I mean, he's really good at it.
He was, listen, I'm on break.
And unfortunately for hers, it's hard to explain how it got damaged. It was 3-4 months ago. And she came in today and I apologized to her and I go, this Thursday was the first, when me and Matt spoke, was the first we heard about anything on Molten Ave. And you just didn't lose your mailbox. The granite post is gone, right? Snap.
Three pieces.
And is in 3 pieces. And that's why she came in tonight.
So that's being handled, essentially.
We can't even make a decision. It was, snow bankings are gone, everything. We just got a broken, destroyed post. I mean, unfortunately, we were not made aware of it. Jim, even if I'm around, Karen usually calls Jim. I don't know how this got lost.
All right, so it's been found. So now we'll move on. What are we gonna do now?
That's why she's here.
Right.
I can't answer the question on how it.
Can we see where the post was? Do we get them?
It wouldn't matter. We.
Oh, easy. You could see that.
We can. All right.
But height of the mailbox at the time would be difficult.
I understand that. So what we have to go off is possibly distance of post off the road.
Yeah.
Let's get all the information we can get, and then if it falls in the criteria, yes. If it doesn't,
Did Jones
yes,
go
no.
on?
I mean,
Excuse me.
right.
He was made aware of it Thursday, the same time we found
Okay,
out.
so he looked at it.
I don't know if he went down there yet or not. I can find out.
Perhaps he's gonna assume the responsibility for it, I don't know.
All right.
But I don't think.
So it needs a a new post needs to be installed in the mailbox owner. It's a total loss?
It's a total loss, yes.
I'm sorry, is it you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me.
The granite pieces are still out there.
You should be able to tell the height with the pieces all.
Yeah.
Takes a measurement. But I mean,
Yeah, it's
I just wanted her to come in because this discussion was happening tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for coming in. I mean, it's a great way to.
I just felt sorry that it slipped through.
Yeah. No, well, understood. Apologies for that. We'll set the criteria, and if it meets the criteria, we'll take care of it. If it doesn't, we won't. Everybody agree with that?
That's what we do.
That's what we can do, I think.
All right.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I guess this happened 3 months ago.
What are we gonna do, have a detective go out there and investigate this, or why can't we just have a
No,
good?
we're gonna have the snow contractor go out and do it like every other one, as we discussed.
Right.
Now, just to see, for us to justify the expense, if it meets the criteria, he's gotta pay to fix it.
It would be the contractor that's
Yeah.
paying it,
Yeah,
not us, not the town.
exactly.
So-
Hey, Don, can I ask this question? Don, you live on the state road like I do. I went to the state, you know what, they looked at me and, well, you know, we don't pay. That's what they told me.
51 years, they never hit mine, so I guess.
Well, they hit mine, they threw it on the other side of the
Once again,
rock
mine.
wall.
Kids coming through night with the baseball bats.
It'll be gone tomorrow.
Sunnyside Drive loses them quite often.
All right, veterans tax credit.
Thank you. You have a resident that has applied for a veteran's tax credit. He qualifies based on his New Hampshire residency.
Okay, this is for next year's tax bill.
Yeah, 'cause it's-
Yeah, that'd be next year.
Effective April 1st.
Effective April 1st, 2019.
Actually, so that would be, yeah, that's what I'm asking, but I thought that in the past, there was some kind of a deadline. Are you familiar with that, Matt?
I think, no, I can't remember. I know Karen mentioned it before, but I don't remember the date actually, I'm sorry.
Deadline for
The
getting the
deadline for the exemption?
Tax exemption.
Tax veterans credit
There's no deadline for it, but it doesn't become effective. Since it's now the 1st of April, it won't be effective this tax year, but next.
Next tax.
All right,
Thanks.
poor Bill. I hope he's around next year.
Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the all veterans tax credit in the amount of $600 for the resident at 7 September Drive, effective, it's gonna be for next year,
I should say it's required by law, and that way it's
Yeah.
covered.
As required by law.
as required by law.
I'll second
Covers
that.
us so we can look it up.
Whatever it's worth.
A second.
Steve, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anybody got any other new business?
Not at this time.
Yeah. Dennis, got a question for you. I just found out another community used the leasing method, so they didn't have to go with a supermajority vote to get a black warrant article through. Is there any movement in the legislature to make it so they have to have a supermajority as a bond?
You have to have the supermajority now.
Not with the
Not
lease,
with the
you only
lease.
have to have
With a bond, you do.
Yeah, with the bond you do, but with the lease.
I have no knowledge of that, I can check it out. I don't know.
It's just one of my little pet peeves.
Sure,
That's
that's
all.
all, that's a trick. Check into it.
Got the manifest next?
Actually, Chip, I do have one thing, just I want to make sure that, I'm not available this Thursday night for planning board. I just want to make sure that somebody's going to be there to cover my
Chester will have so much fun.
planning board assignment.
I'm the alternate, yes. Thursday night.
Okay,
I'm on.
thank you.
All right, what we got here?
Payroll.
Payroll.
Okay, I move that we approve the attached manifest of unpaid bills detailed as of April 4th, 2019 in the amount of $430,808.35. The manifest includes Greenland School District payment of $235,000.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
And then we have a payroll manifest for $56,515 and 69 cents.
I move we approve the attached payroll number 7, pay date April 4th, 2019, for the period March 18, 2019 through and including March 31, 2019. Gross amount excluding payroll liabilities, $56,515.69.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, leave me hanging.
Okay. Last call for other.
Oh, I gotta do it again.
Motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Aye. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So be it.